Alright boys, in this video I'll be ranking every single Arrancar weapon worst to best. Shout out to my friend Lox and Zevem, they're both ranked in the top 10 for helping with this video, and let's get right into it. Alright boys, the first weapon for this video is going to be the gun caliber, or the Arrancar gun, and this is actually a legendary weapon for Arrancar, and despite that it's actually considered a pretty trash weapon. In my opinion, after using it, I don't really fully agree with that sentiment, and I think it can be viable, but it's only if you want to have fun on the game. This weapon is extremely enjoyable to use, the crit is a solid guard break, but the M1s are too slow and the damage is lackluster. For that reason, I'm probably going to have to rank this at the complete bottom, but like I said before, if you guys strictly just want to have fun and you don't really want to be a sweat, I would definitely recommend hopping on this weapon. It's a unique weapon compared to everything else, right? It's obviously a gun, the crit is super cool, and if you want to like cosplay Stark, which is what most people use it for, because honestly you're not really going to be beating that much people on this, right? So yeah, honestly, solid weapon. And honestly, if I didn't have the opinion of other people actually guiding me, a lot of people that are better than me, I would probably have ranked this higher just from my experience. But yeah, next weapon. Alright boys, now we're on to Ukiyora's katana, and this is actually my main weapon and what you'll probably see me use a lot. The main issue with this weapon is that the crit is super predictable and it does no posture damage. It doesn't guard break anymore like it used to, so most people can just block it, but even without that, it's actually pretty easy to parry. This weapon used to be meta because the crit used to guard break and you were able to just use like the vamp C into the crit, but even now I've noticed people have gotten a lot better at the game, and whenever I try and use like my vamp C move into crit to get a combo, people can even parry it. And in case you guys don't know what that move does, it literally blinds them and shakes their entire screen, so it makes parrying incredibly difficult, and they're still able to do it. That kind of just shows you how badly this weapon has fallen, and that is the reason why it's actually at number 10. Not much else to say about this weapon. All I would really say is I hope it does get a slight buff in the future. Instead of doing like 50% posture, I hope it can do at least 80 to 90%, so it has a hope of climbing up the list and it can be somewhat more viable. But yeah, anyways, next thing. Alright boys, so Harrowbell's dagger is actually a pretty decent weapon, I would say. It's the only Arrancar weapon that has fast M1s and it has a guard break crit. You can definitely make this viable, and I've seen some high level builds that actually run this, but if I'm being honest, there's just a lot better options in Arrancar. Harrowbell dagger's main issue I feel like is the fact that the crit doesn't actually knock down, so unless you guard break them, you're not actually going to be able to combo extend off your crit. As you guys can see here, I hit him with my crit and he immediately replied with a move, so that means the crit is kind of unreliable. The M1s are solid, but the main issue with the M1s, or dagger M1s in my opinion, this might just be my toolkit, but it's very difficult to combo extend with this. So I feel like if you're on Kendo, the background footage would have definitely been a lot higher quality, but I feel like nonetheless there's just a lot better options. I don't really have much negatives to say about this besides for the fact that the crit is annoying as frick. I don't want to swear, but annoying as hell to land, and yeah, I would just recommend using something else. Like, this cannot compete with the Soul Reaper dagger crit. Soul Reaper dagger is 10 times better than this. But yeah, anyways, next weapon. Alright, the next weapon that we're going to be talking about is actually the Tessin. This weapon is overall a pretty solid weapon, I would say. The main issue that I personally have with it is the fact that the M1s are kind of annoying to land, but Type Soul really isn't an M1 based game, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. I would say the crit is incredibly busted, and if it was up to me, I'd honestly rank it a lot higher. I don't know why people don't use this weapon more. I feel like the crit is relatively easy to dash out of, but when you do catch somebody in it, it's going to be a free combo starter. Like, you guys know Shadow and how pretty much any build with Shadow just turns into free shoe combos. I feel like the same could be said with Tessin, but to a lesser degree, of course. If you're new to the game and you want an easy to pick up weapon that doesn't even require that much skill, I would definitely go for the Tessin. Look at that. I don't think it's possible to parry this weapon. I have never seen, in my entire time of playing Type Soul, I've never seen somebody even come close to parrying the Tessin. The crit is a guard break whirlpool knockdown, so if you run something like Eviscerate or Sonata Flow or Fast Fang, you can get a pretty easy free damage combo starter off the crit. Honestly, nothing negative to say about this weapon besides for maybe like the janky M1s. So yeah, let's move on to the next thing. Alright boys, we got the Blood Edge, and I want to say at the start that I'm actually fighting a person with like a crazy high win percentage. I think it was like an 8 or a 10 in this clip, so that just goes to show you how good this weapon is, because this was actually my first time using the Tessin, or not Tessin, my bad, the Blood Edge. The most notable quality of the Blood Edge is the fact that it has 2 crits, the aerial and the ground variant. They don't actually share any cooldown, so you can spam the hell out of them, and they both guard break. So combo starting is no issue with this. I feel like it does best on the Arrancar kido builds. I'm using speed, so if it doesn't seem as fluid, or it feels like, you know, some weapons are worse than others, it might just come down to my experience with them. But yeah, a good positive I would say of this weapon is just the fact that you can combo extend very easily off the 2 different crits. I don't want this video to be too long, so let's go on to the next segment. I don't think there needs to be much said about this legendary weapon. It's pretty solid, and yeah. This is one of the most underrated weapons in the entire game, and even I at first thought this was pretty trash, but my friend put me onto this weapon. So Nedla IL has only, I think this is the only weapon in the entire game with a guard break crit, and that crit, in my opinion, seemed pretty trash from like an outsider's perspective, right? Because who the hell is going to get hit by the Nedla IL crit? Like, as you guys can see here, the hitbox on that shit is crazy. How did I hit that person? I'm gonna play that clip right back. The hitbox on this crit is actually insane. In this clip, you guys will notice me actually guard breaking my opponent quite a few times. This person is also pretty high ranked, so in case you guys are worried about this not working on, you know, like everybody, this guy has like only 8 losses and like 70 wins, so it works on good players as well. Underrated weapon. I personally don't like the way it works, but I feel like, you know, depending on your playstyle, you could definitely find some usage on this. I think for speed and kendo, this would be decent. Again, I think it probably works best with like kido, but yeah. Next weapon. Alright boys, newest legendary weapon for Arrancar. Shout out to my friend Uck for this clip, and he hit some actual crazy combos. It has 2 different crits. You land the first one and then you use the second one. The first crit actually slams him down, and the second crit allows you to combo extend off of it. He's about to hit an actual crazy combo on this clip. I'll just let you guys watch that shit. Basically what the crit does is you slam them down and then you knock them, so it has 2 sections like I said before, I'm pretty sure. And the main strength I feel like of this crit is the fact that you can actually combo start really easily. The crit is pretty difficult to parry, the M1s look pretty weird. I would say the first part, if they don't parry it, you're almost guaranteed to land the second part, and afterwards you can extend with anything you want. If you're on kendo, you can run eviscerate into sonata flow or something. If you're on speed, you can do fast fang, waterfall dance, floating cuts, time speed cut, whatever you want. It's really good on any build. Let's move on to the next one. The biggest strength of Barragan's axe I feel like is the M1s and the hyper armor crit. This is a good weapon especially on kido. If you run combos, for example like Sarah Scourge into like a, for this build, like the claws move into the crit, or even Bala Barrage into the crit, you could get some pretty solid combos off. I see this weapon being used a lot more recently. At first I honestly thought it was pretty trash because the M1s are super slow and the range isn't crazy, but from my experience, even when I'm trying to parry them, and I like to consider myself a pretty decent parrier, I have difficulties, and the crit you honestly can't parry. It's similar to like the Debroken Enforcer Axe cheese builds. However, luckily this game isn't as M1 based, so you won't be having as much difficulties with it, but I know there's definitely some crazy combos with this, especially Arrancar kido builds. Like 99% of them are going to be running this weapon. Like honestly, I don't think you'll ever see an Arrancar kido build that isn't on this. And a bonus is it's probably one of the best weapons in the entire game for farming boss rates. So you can PvP and run boss rates, so PvE on the exact same build. I honestly don't, this weapon doesn't need a nerf. It's not that brain dead, but compared to everything else right now, this is a great pick, especially if you're running kido. So yeah, next weapon. Alright, number 3 is going to be the Grimjaw's Claws weapon. This is only used by Hakata users on Arrancar, and that's primarily the reason why this is ranked so high. Just the fact that every single Arrancar is using this, and every single Arrancar is on Hakata, and that's probably the most busted build in the entire game right now. The weapon in and of itself is pretty decent, I guess. It's just your basic Hakata weapon, decent M1s and up tilt crit. The crit I would say is relatively difficult to parry, but when it comes to just avoiding it, it's pretty easy to do, so it's not too much of an issue. But just because Hakata is crazy busted, this weapon has made its way up to the number 3 spot, and it will probably remain pretty high because Hakata is not going to go anywhere. So yeah, let's move on to number 2. Alright boys, this is probably one of the most underrated and slept upon weapons in all of Type Soul, and that is the Wonderweiss. I have not seen this as much as I should have. It even got buffed recently, I'm pretty sure, like when Type Soul dropped, which is like a few weeks ago, right? And basically your crit now allows you to dash forward and actually hit them with a free up tilt vertical down, whatever the hell it's called, vertical down split get. Yeah, you get a free version of that for this crit, and it's almost impossible to parry. The main difficulty I would say I have when I use this crit is the fact that people kind of play very cheeky. On speed, a lot of the time people are going to be running away and playing super passive, which makes this crit a bit annoying to land. However, if you're on a different build, for example kendo speed, even the hybrid build, this weapon will go insane. Like, I don't even think a crit is possible to parry. That's how good it is, and you're able to run into them. So for example, let's say a good combo I would say is like Sonata Flow into the crit, into like Floating Strikes, into Fast Fangs. Like, that is a pretty busted combo right there. I'm running a pure speed build, so I can't show you that, but trust me guys, this weapon is busted. Crit is impossibly difficult to parry, and even before the buff it was crazy. Honestly, let's just move on to the final weapon. Alright, now we're on to the first weapon of our entire list, the best Arrancar weapon, and that is the Nino Itra Scythe. And it is an insanely good weapon with an incredibly powerful crit. It has every characteristic that you'd expect from a busted crit. It's super fast, it does decent damage, and on top of all of that, it guard breaks and it cripples and stuns them. The best part about the cripple and stun is the fact that if they block it, or if they if they block it, or if they get hit by it normally, you're always going to get a free combo starter. The only way they get out is obviously by parrying or dodging. Most people aren't going to be able to parry this, and when it comes to dodging, if you time it properly and the dodge is on cooldown, you almost get a true combo starter. Most sweaty players you're going to see are going to be rocking this weapon. I feel like I already addressed the fact that it's just a free combo starter. Like, you can do any combo you want with this. Land the crit, Fast Fang, Floating Strikes, Time Cut, Spectre Step into the crit as I did at the start of the video. It's honestly so free. The only real defense is to just dodge against it, but if you bait out their dodges, they can't do anything. Like, as you guys can see in this clip, this guy is playing super passive. It's also because he's a Arrancar kido and they all just run away for no reason, but most people are going to have to be forced to play like that against this crit. For that reason, I have to rank this at number 1. Before we conclude this video, I do want to say it is highly dependent on whatever build you're using for a weapon to be effective. So for example, the Enforcer Axe weapon, which was ranked number 4, probably would not do as well on a speed build as it would on a kido build. So make sure to take that into account. Thanks for watching and goodbye.